Alvaro Morata starts up front. His clubmate Isco is also in the side, having scored in the game against Israel the other day when Spain won by 4-1. There's still a very strong-looking team for Spain there. It really is. That defence with Piqué and Ramos, Taylor.
And Pedro's had a little bit of a rebirth with Chelsea. He's obviously played extremely well under Conte. Morata's had a difficult season for Real Madrid, only starting 13 games. But keep an eye on the movement of Iniesta and Isco. Isco may at times want to come in. Iniesta has always loved to drift wide left. But it's the movement in possession that Spain will cause headaches for French.
There will be a moment of silence now in memory of one of the great French players, Raymond Kopa from the 1958 team. And also for Jean Verbac, one of the leading officials of the French Football Federation.
Il a porté brillamment le maillot de l'équipe de France avec 45 sélections. Raymond Kopa a disputé la Coupe du Monde en 1954 et 1958. Il a également écrit les plus belles images et les plus belles pages du Stade de Reims et du Real Madrid, club avec lequel il a remporté 3 fois la Ligue des Champions. En mémoire à Jean Verbeek et à Raymond Kopa, nous allons observer 1 minute d'applaudissements. Merci.
Kopa really was one of the great players alongside Just Fontaine, who scored 13 goals in one World Cup. Kopa right up there with him and fondly remembered by the French fans here today. Both of these teams 7 games unbeaten. This is a rivalry which goes back to 1922 between these two, and their star paths have crossed in recent times as well. At Euro 2012, Spain won that by 2-0 in Donetsk, and of course they met in World Cup qualification for the last World Cup, and in that qualification phase Spain won here with a goal from Pedro by 1-0. The other one was a 1-1 draw in Spain.
I also think that's why you see such strong lineups from both teams, Ian. Even though it's a friendly, they're both coming off World Cup qualifiers. Didier Deschamps yesterday said when you play the likes of Spain, Italy, England, they may be friendlies in nature, but it's also a chance to showcase and test yourselves against better opposition.
Piqué and Ramos at the back again for Spain. That's a sign really that they want to keep things as tight as they can. I think both teams want to keep up their momentum. Spain in particular are in a, well, battle royal in their World Cup qualification group because they've been drawn in the same group as Italy. They're level on points, those two, at the moment. That's a tough draw for both of them. France are leading their group quite comfortably. They look like they're going to make it. Pedro setting something up down this right-hand side. Played in by Carvajal. Koke. Crossing again, and Umtiti, that is, who's heading it behind, the young man who made quite an impression coming into the side at the Euros.
And it's going to be a difficult test for the French national team on the left side. Kurzawa has got Mbappe, the teenage sensation, in front of him, but when Carvajal overlaps on the right side, he's got to have support dealing with that overload down the right-hand side.
Koke of Atletico Madrid with the corner kick. France can't get that one away. One thing I can tell you is there's been a lot of money with European bookmakers on France to win the World Cup in recent months. They've gone in from 11-1 to 8-1. Germany are still favourites, with Brazil fast improving now. Right in that picture as well. Be fascinating. That's Jallet getting it away, getting a look in for once in the right back position. Didier Deschamps was under a lot of pressure, I think, to give Kylian Mbappe his first start after his wonderful deeds with Monaco. He scored in both legs of that tie against Manchester City, and it'll be fascinating to see how he does. Conte feeding this one forward.
Well, and I think preparing for the World Cup next year, Ian, I think Didier Deschamps has to see a lot of the young players. We're seeing a couple of them today. He's got a wealth of options, I think, particularly because of the success of Monaco, PSG, and whatnot. He's got some young players up and coming, and that's why I think, to go back to your bookmakers' odds, that's why I think those odds have changed.
France, of course, won the World Cup in this stadium on that famed occasion against Brazil in 1998. A couple of goals from Zinedine Zidane that day. Jallet, former Paris Saint-Germain player, now with Lyon. And then Koscielny giving it back to the goalkeeper, as ever, Hugo Lloris of Tottenham Hotspur. Rabiot, who's in the starting lineup today, the Paris Saint-Germain player. Gamero did some good work there on the left-hand side. Recently back in the scoring team with France after a 5-year absence, Gamero. There's the coach, Julen Lopetegui of Spain. He did great things with the under-21 side, winning the European Championships. Not so great with Porto, but they put the faith in him.
Well, and one of those young players Didier Deschamps wants to watch today is Adrien Rabiot. He's just so good in the seams. He's replaced Matuidi today in the lineup. He's just been very smooth, silky, but also no nonsense. And he does a very good job of linking the midfield to the front. Good run from Gamio, but Rabiot today just has a good understanding for such a young player at the timing of the runs coming out of the midfield.
That one was too long for Mbappe. He hasn't had a chance yet to explode into the game, but there's a lot of people around, good judges too, who think he might be the next big global superstar, a real elite player. Griezmann with the laugh, and here's Mbappe, and he nearly is on target with a goal with his very first touch almost. He's the youngest player to play for France since 1955. Isco to lay it back. Sergio Ramos spreading it wide. Spain, of course, the kings of possession football, but it has to be said, Taylor, they have disappointed in the last two big tournaments after those glory years.
Well, it was in this stadium against Italy.
Yeah.
But they were completely outdone by Conte in that formation and just the tactics of that game. But part of it is you look at their roster and you look at the wealth of players that Spain has, but it's almost that killer instinct. They've lost it over the last 3 or 4 years. Saying that in World Cup qualifying, Ian, they haven't lost a game.
Not since 1993. That's amazing. 58 World Cup qualifiers without defeat, Spain. Beggars belief almost. Here's Jallet. And they won the latest one. That was given away by Jallet. It could be costly. It's Isco. Couldn't quite work the half a yard of space. He was looking to get a shot in on goal.
But it was also the recognition from Koscielny. He immediately found the danger. The ball turns over in the midfield. Now he's got to slide over and cover for Jallet. And Koscielny, I think, was underrated during the European Championships. You and I came into the Euros talking about, well, do they have a leader, a world-class center back? I thought Koscielny did that job. Great recognition there to cover for Jallet.
Most of the early questions coming from Spain here. Want to just make another little statement against another of the European juggernauts that they're back. It'll be fascinating to see how they go. If they qualify, of course, for Russia next year, that's not a given that Italy are right there with them in that group, and only the top team automatically goes through. Meet again in September. That might be vital. Pedro missing out on that attack down the right-hand side. Look how quickly Spain get it back again, though. There's Jordi Alba. Back to Isco again. Lovely ball from him. Curved into the pass of Carvajal.
There's just, when there's an urgency with Spain going forward, and you often watch them and they'll lull you to sleep defending in possession, but when there's that little bit of urgency, when they change the point of attack, both fullbacks get forward, that's when they become most dangerous. I mean, Ian, we're 8 minutes in, and Carvajal has already had 3 good, dangerous crosses coming down the right side.
Change on Griezmann there. Sergio Busquets, one of the great midfield players of world football. Interesting thing with Busquets is his dad, Carles, who was a goalkeeper for Barcelona, vied for the shirt with the man who's now the Spain coach, Lopetegui. And it was Busquets who won it.
Of course, but Ian, looking at France already, tactically they've made a little bit of a switch here. Rabiot's moved left, Mbappe's up front with Gamero. Now Griezmann's playing underneath, so it's almost moved more into a 4-3-1-2 with Griezmann in that free role, particularly on the counter. But Mbappe up front, this is where he's got to, you got to be in complete focus of the game. Spain in possession, now he's got to be the release out of pressure. But Mbappe and Gamero up front.
And they've got the pace for the counters, that's for certain. Lovely ball that from Pedro. He's been terrific this season as Chelsea continue their march towards the English Premier League title. Chalet to lay it inside his the debutant Tolisso. So many good young players coming through France. 14 of the squad named for this game had under 10 caps. A lot of the old guard are on their way out now. Free kick will be given. Mbappe, every time he gets the ball, listen to the crowd.
Yeah, and every time I've watched Mbappe over the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 weeks, and you hear the comparisons of Thierry Henry, but he's so explosive every single time that ball is played into his feet. He's so dynamic on the turn. He's explosive getting in behind. 13 goals in his last 12 appearances for Monaco. I think you said it best, Ian. 18 years of age. You get why the excitement. Even Koke in Spain was texting Griezmann saying, what's he like? He's got the attention of everyone right now in the European game.
Well, I think Sergio Ramos went public saying that he'd like Real Madrid to sign him. 18. Stories of Manchester United making a £96 million bid for him. But as ever, there's a lot of talk. Let's see what the action is. Griezmann's going to take this one. Into that danger. Koscielny hooked away. That was going in as well. Piqué, I think it was, who hooked it away. That was on its way in from Koscielny. What a clearance that was. Gamero lays it wide. Here's Mbappe again. Crowd are willing him to score. What an adroit piece of defending.
Oh, and the difficult part was Griezmann had his head up the entire time looking at the back post, but look at Spain gets caught looking for that near post ball. Koscielny with a great run. But how often in his entire career for Spain and for Barcelona has Piqué always been thinking one play ahead? Great play from Piqué on the back post.
Winning his 87th cap today. And of course he's seen it all with Spain. Winning the World Cup, the Euros, Champions League with Barcelona. Not a bad career. Married to a rock star. Where did it all go wrong?
He was following in your footsteps.
I wish. There's Koke. Big favourite, of course, of Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid. We do have quite a stock full of talent to pick from He's the little master Iniesta playing that one forward. Now Alba. Isco curbing another nice looking ball to Real Madrid's Dani Carvajal. Now it's Pedro. I think what you can expect today here is some high-class action. And we've already seen some of it. Iniesta looking for the free kick, and the referee was going to blow, and then he didn't, as Isco went down and got up again. Carvajal with the layoff, and Koscielny getting it away, the Arsenal man. Iniesta! Typical. Tiptoed his way through. And
he just makes it look so easy. And 32 years of age, and for how many years has he done this for Barcelona, where you think the ball's knocked down, you think you're out of space, 4 or 5 defenders around him, little touches in the seams, and he just makes it look so easy. At this pace, against this level, I'm not sure Iniesta's gotten the credit that he's deserved because of Messi and Ronaldo during the exact same time putting up the numbers he has. Just a special player.
Yeah. He's had a fair few rave reviews.
I agree.
Along the way.
No doubt about it. But how often have we done ESPN FC and we talk about who's the best player in the world, Messi or Ronaldo? When I think if you ask players around the world, Iniesta's in that conversation.
Yeah, I think in another era he'd have won a Ballon d'Or somewhere, wouldn't he? I think the story I like best about him is when the club that gave him his break, Albacete, ran into a lot of financial trouble. He came up with a lot of money to save them. He's still a huge hero at that club. Spain played there a year or so back, and the reception he got was unbelievable.
Well, and even recently coming out that he never wanted to go to Barcelona as a 12-year-old. He didn't want to leave his parents. It's just a great story.
Busquets almost playing a little sand wedge. Taylor will appreciate that reference.
A little 52 degree.
I think you lost a few people there, but
that's all right.
Isco. His Griezmann, the top scorer at the European Championships. Antoine Griezmann, another player who was a lot of transfer talk surrounding him as well, but he sent out a tweet the other day saying, "I'm in Madrid, I'm happy, nothing changes." Which doesn't mean to say necessarily that he'll still be there next season. We shall see. It's another player Manchester United are eyeing.
You do get the feeling, though, that is Marino and Manchester United's #1 target this offseason.
Yeah, because might change if Manchester United don't make the Champions League next season. They've got to finish in the top 4 to do that, or win the Europa League. Jordi Alba, who scored in Euro 2012 in the final. Lovely goal too. Absolutely bossing the ball here, Spain. How many times have we said that over the years? Koke. Carvajal. Pedro taking on Kurzawa, the Paris Saint-Germain left back. Can they get a payoff? The fact is, it's France who've come closest to scoring so far, though. Trying to get Morata in. I think the pattern's set, isn't it, strategically here, Taylor?
Yeah, and even you and I were talking before the opening whistle of just how this kind of plays into the hands of both teams. France wants to sit in and counter and use their explosiveness in wide areas, and Spain obviously wants to dictate the tempo of the game and get numbers forward. But that's a test for a young player. I think Didier Deschamps, this is a good test of why you're seeing some young players get the start is, can you mentally stay engaged in a game like this, where you're going to defend for 70-80% of the game? It's when you get possession, can you find Griezmann, can you find Gamero, can you get Mbappe going forward? and get Spain defending. The one thing Spain has shown vulnerability, I think, over the last 3 years, Ian, is when if you beat their initial line of pressure like Italy did in Euros, you can score goals against Spain.
Let's see what happens. Piqué and Carvajal down that right-hand side. Carvajal of Real Madrid, who have this juicy Champions League quarter-final with Bayern Munich coming up. Looking to spread the play again. Carvajal's almost playing as an out-and-out right winger over on that side. Isco with the cross, which Morata can't do anything with. MLS Soccer Sunday, presented by Audi, resumes Sunday at 9 Eastern on ESPN2. Diego Valeri and the Portland Timbers host the New England Revolution from Providence Park. The match will also be streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. It looked a little bit painful. Starts up Carvajal having a little complaint to the referee. Felix Zweier from Germany. Yellow card for that for Rabiot. He's only 21, made a big impression in the first of the 2 games against Barcelona, but like so many of the Paris Saint-Germain players, he disappeared in that amazing second leg where Barcelona rescued it with 3 goals in 7 minutes at the end.
Was it a penalty on Suarez?
I didn't think so, no, but to look in the book.
There's no pictures in the book at the end of the day, are there?
Yeah, I think it says penalty, goal.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet you didn't go to bed after that game, did you?
We did start quite late. Yeah, me and Steve.
Well, you were with Steve McManaman.
Yeah,
that's part of the reason.
Yeah. We probably would have done if it had been 0-0.
What'd you do? Would you two go dancing afterwards or what?
I wouldn't have said we went dancing. Here's Mbappe. I had a couple of lemonades on the streets with the Barca fans that night. I don't think too many people were sleeping. Here's Carvajal. Of course, Barcelona are locked in a big battle at the top of La Liga with Real Madrid. Real in the box seat there, a couple of points ahead, and they've got a game in hand as well. They do meet again in late April. Similarly in France, Monaco giving Paris Saint-Germain a real run for their money this season. Look at that from Lloris. You wouldn't have seen that from a goalkeeper 40 years ago. Might be something for Spain here. Spread quickly to Isco. Couldn't quite bring it down. A Real Madrid man. Griezmann, lovely little ball off the outside of the foot. Mbappe with the left. Jallet trying to pick up Griezmann's run. The fast counter. That's what France are all about here.
If you're going to throw numbers forward and you're going to push your fullbacks as high as Spain has done, you have to have recognition from both center backs of how to clean that counter out. Ramos gets caught in with Griezmann. What does Piqué do? He slides over perfectly for that ball over the top from Jallet. You just get the feeling, Ian, though, this is what the French national team wants to do. They want to sit in and then all of a sudden explode when they get the opportunity to string 2 or 3 passes together.
Yes, it's almost as if they're practicing it for some other big occasion down the road, maybe in a tournament. Have to be a bit cute with that for Spain, because teams, it's just a suggestion that some teams are just starting to work them out. Here's Isco. Certainly when it came to it at the World Cup in 2014, tiki-taka, it looked like it had had its day. We started well at the European Championships last summer, but faded, lost to Croatia, and then went out against Italy here, as we were saying. Isco's going to take this corner. Quarter way through the game. Lloris came for that, didn't really get there, but he was fouled. Busquets puts the ball in the back of the net, but the whistle had long gone.
Well, and it looked like to be a little confusion with Lloris in the back line. He was pointing at Tolisso to get to the near post.
Well, Piqué crashes into Lloris after the punch, doesn't he? But I think the ref's got that right, hasn't he?
Set pieces, though, were a little bit of an issue for the French national team during Euros, Ian. And you wonder if... I've always wondered why Lloris doesn't have anyone on the post.
Yeah, that's always a debating point. You kick yourself if one goes in there, and could have been a bloke there who just hooked it away. Isco with the layoff. Is Pedro on 20 trophies with Barcelona before his move to London.
He's just a different player.
Yeah. At the moment, yeah, he really is.
You watch Pedro now. That was not the Pedro that was playing at Chelsea 12 months ago.
Yeah, that would be true of a lot of the players, of course.
Fair enough.
After the near mutiny of the previous season. They're putting it right this time, though.
Well, and I wonder, because Morata has struggled to get playing time at Real Madrid, if Conte looks at him as if Diego Costa leaves, maybe Morata ends up at Chelsea in London next year. He was successful under him at Juventus. Yeah,
it's a player he likes. Played in that 2015 Champions League final, didn't he, for Juventus? Barca-Juventus, that's another rematch in the quarter-final this year. Carvajal. Pedro again. Playing nicely, Spain. Very easy on the eye. They make it look so easy, this possession football, but it takes a heck of a lot of work. Not to mention a fair old portion of skill as well. Pedro again, Morata waiting in the middle, goes for the near post, didn't quite get there. I think he got there first, then couldn't get his feet organised to get a shot away. He nearly got that right that time, Spain. Isco again. And Alba's quick, but not that quick.
And for the 25 minutes of this first half, everything Spain has done has gone down their right side. They've caused a huge amount of headaches for France. Kurzawa at left back, Umtiti sliding over. But it's a little thing from Koscielny. He makes that run near post. He's not even playing possession. He's actually looking for that position to get between the ball and Morata. But you can see the headache with Jallet, Tolisso, Conte. The midfield of France, that left side, struggling to deal with Spain going forward.
Nicely done. So far, not much of a look-in for Kylian Mbappe, but he did put in one deft effort very early on with his first involvement. And there might be more to come. Spending so little time with the ball in this game, France.
But what's so easy, and you talk about how easy it looks, it's always, everyone's on the move. Everyone's moving. The fluidity of going forward. The technique is one thing, but watch the French team. It's the three in the midfield. Tolisso, Conte, and Rabiot are all looking at each other. They're pointing around. They're chasing shadows right now because Spain is doing a wonderful job, two-touch passing, but overloading the wide channels.
Isco. Not quite good enough. It was a bit of a miscued header, that, though, by Laurent Koscielny.
If there's been one positive in the first half, I think the partnership of Umtiti and Koscielny have been on the same page.
And they need to have their wits about them back there, that's for certain. This is Isco's latest corner. Well defended by Rabiot. Rabiot scored against Chelsea and Manchester City in the Champions League last season. Koke. Carvajal again. Back to Koke once more. Piqué's come forward from the back here. Away this time by Umtiti. That's a collector's item. The ball given away by N'Golo Kanté. Might be costly as well, because Iniesta's got him behind here. Still might be something. Jallet nicks it away after the save by Lloris. But France were unzipped there. And that was all the fault of that errant ball from Kanté.
And Kanté's made very few mistakes over the last 12 months for both club and country, but that was a bad giveaway in a difficult spot. But Ian, I was having an argument the other day. I think you could make an argument that over the last 18 to 24 months has been the best of Lloris's career. During the Euros, he came up with big saves. What he's done for Tottenham, obviously all the scouts, whether he's moving to Real Madrid or whatnot. But I think over the last 18 months in particular, Lloris has been huge with the timing of his saves. He's been able to come up with saves like this constantly for both Tottenham and the France national team. But this is just such a good save. But it all comes off of a bad giveaway from Kanté, leaving Iniesta one-on-one.
87th cap today for Hugo Lloris. That equals the French record for a goalkeeper held by Fabien Barthez. Easily dealt with by Spain on that occasion. Kurzawa to lay it inside for Les Bleus. On Sunday, April the 9th, the US women's national team in action against Russia. That's 2 Eastern on ESPN. The match also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. That's the US women's team, always worth catching. As ever, one of the top nations in the world. Mbappe making the run down the left-hand side. Look at his speed to get to that one. The cross was a bit disappointing, and a misunderstanding really there between defender and goalkeeper.
No, but it's where Mbappe picked up the initial possession. It's in between the lines. So now both Piqué and Ramos, one of them have to make a decision. Do they step up with Mbappe into the midfield, or do they allow him to keep possession, turn, and run at them? Whether it's Griezmann, Gamero, or Mbappe, one of them have to be an option for the French midfield to play forward.
So you'd have to say a rare excursion forward here by France. Griezmann, and Titi's header had to fetch it from behind him. He did keep it alive. Griezmann rather strangely left it for Tolisso. Ctrl Alt. There's Mbappe again. Griezmann. Tolisso to play it wide. Kurzawa's ball in. It was Kurzawa who scored an own goal that night at the Camp Nou. As Barcelona stormed back. I think that was a vital moment in the game as well, because Barca were just looking like they'd run out of ideas at that moment, and suddenly they got another lift. To be fair to him, he did set up the Paris Saint-Germain goal himself later on. Jallet down the side. There's Gamero. Now with Atletico Madrid, after his great deeds with Sevilla, winning the Europa League last season. Nothing doing for Morata. He's hardly had a kick so far. Of course, Diego Costa is the man in possession really up front. But he has got a bit of an ankle injury. Nothing much. He didn't go back to Chelsea even when he picked it up. So it was under consideration for this game, but obviously not risked in the circumstances.
But Ian, throughout the years, how often have you called a Spain game and the center forward, no matter who that player is, has very little impact in the build-up, the movement, but his #1 job is to finish plays off? I mean, we saw it during Euros 2000. They played Fabregas in that position.
Yeah,
They played a false number 9.
Sometimes they haven't had a centre forward. Quite often they haven't had a centre forward since David Villa moved out of the international stage. He's still Spain's top goal scorer, by the way, with 59. Villa. Joint 4th is David Silva, who's in this squad. Scored the other day, Manchester City man.
When you bring up David Villa, opening weekend of Major League Soccer, I asked David Villa if he still has the quote-unquote urge to represent Spain's national team. He said, they know where my number is.
Got my phone number. That's a nice answer.
Still playing at a high level.
It's Didier Deschamps. Of course, he lifted the World Cup in this stadium for France. Won the European Championship as well a couple of years later. A couple of Champions Leagues. So far, no trophy as the coach of France, despite getting them to the final of Euro 2016. There's a bit of a heartbreak there against Portugal for them. Defending to do for France here. Lloris, good hold. It's Conte, who's odds on to be named as Footballer of the Year in England pretty shortly. Frank Lampard.
Is there any other argument?
Well, some people say Eden Hazard, his teammate at Chelsea, but
look at the last 2 years and the last 2 clubs Conte's been on, Ian.
Yep. Well, Frank Lampard was saying he thinks Conte now is the best midfield player in the world of his type.
Well, I think what's interesting when you talk about Conte is he now has changed the way clubs and scouts look at the defensive midfield position. Remember, growing up, he was a wide player. But his pace, his engine, he's not the tallest, he's not the most physical, but the ability to just cover ground. You know, you're no longer looking for the destroyer all the time. Now there's a different look to that number 6 role because of Conte and what he's done.
Yeah, whatever he's having for breakfast, you want some, don't you?
No doubt about it. I mean, Ian, think of how many times he covers box to box for 90 minutes and allows the players around him. I mean, I don't think Frank Lampard's that wrong with that. I mean, if you had to pick a number 6 to start your team with right now, he's in the discussion.
Oh, yeah. Not too many coaches who wouldn't want him, I don't think. Here's Iniesta. It's quite a debate, though. I mean, you could probably fill a couple of hours with that. Who's the best midfield player in the world and still not reach a conclusion.
Well, if you would have asked that question 18 months ago, people would have said Pogba for France, and it's not even there.
He's got an injury, not available, by the way, for this squad. Paul Pogba of Manchester United. There's a lot of familiar names not in this on their way out. Sagna, Evra, Pogba's injured, Sissoko, Gignac, Cabaye, Schneiderlin. No Lacazette or Coman in this squad either of the younger brigade. They've got a few to choose from, haven't they? That's, I think, the moral of the story here is Conte. Nice piece of work, quick feet from him. Griezmann, good so far from France. Jallet, not so good. Made it easy for Jordi Alba.
Well, and I think one criticism for Jallet at the international level is tactically he's on very few errors, always in the right spot, but going forward, there's always been that little bit of criticism. The final ball just hasn't been there.
Yeah, there's a lot of patient probing and skillful probing. Just can't find a finish here either side. Somebody might soon, though, because there's enough quality out there for that to change rapidly. There's quite a few useful defenders as well, mind you. Referee's seen that infringement. Gives me a chance to remind you tonight, 9:15 Eastern. Head over to ESPN FC's Facebook page for a live preview of the United States' important World Cup qualifier against Panama. Taylor will be involved in that, along with Hercules Gomez and Adrian Healy, discussing that big game for the US away to Panama coming up in a few hours' time. What do you think?
6-0 against Honduras. Were you shocked?
Yeah, because I thought that would be a tight game, maybe 1-0, 2-1, something like that. I mean, very important 3 points, obviously, to get the campaign back on the road. But I think it's another question again, isn't it? Away from home, down in Central America.
Yeah, I just think the mentality of the United States has to be going down to Panama and getting 3 points. But that's a vulnerable team. Panama coming off losing to Trinidad. You got to be careful. But I just think when you're better than that team, you should go down there and get 3 points.
Panama, by the way, are 1 point clear of the USA at the moment, aren't they, in the group? Top 3 automatically go to the World Cup. Panama are 3rd and USA 4th. Still quite early in that Hex campaign. There's Olivier Giroud, a couple of goals for him the other day against Luxembourg, which have lifted him to number 9 in the French all-time scorers list. Good leap from Kishani.
It's been a quiet afternoon for Morata. Very few touches, but the one thing he's always had, and I think that was with his time with Juventus, is just having a good understanding that at some point that chance will come, but he has to be involved with the build-up. He has to be able to play with his back to goal. Draws a dangerous set piece here for Spain going forward.
Morata scored 4 in his last 10 games for Real Madrid, including in the Champions League win away to Napoli. Koke towards the back post here. Ramos was forward, winning the header. It's fallen to Morata.
When he has to be a little disappointed, he was Real Madrid's youth golden boy. I mean, everything coming up through their youth ranks, he was that guy, but still they're second forward with the first team.
Yeah, I think it's a hard work to get a break in Real Madrid, isn't it? Good pressure on the ball. Look at all those white shirts in that small area. Go and get the ball back quick when they lose it. Exactly what they did. And here's Dani Carvajal. Pedro. Iniesta, and just a bit of a misunderstanding in the end. For once, Iniesta didn't quite weight the ball correctly with the required backspin. He usually does. Tough boots to follow for him, Vicente Del Bosque. World Cup winner, European Championship winner, Champions League winner. Not bad to be going on with. Yes, Tolisso really been able to get in the game on his debut, the promising young Olympique Lyon player. Here he is on the ball again now, only 22. Very much a learning experience. Fancy coming in for your debut, playing in midfield against the Spaniards, Iniesta and co. Kazawa.
But like you said, Didier Deschamps has to get answers, and I'm sure this is a good test for a young player who's been one of the few bright spots for Lyon this season.
Yeah, bound to be a stage fright element, I would think, to that. It wouldn't be human otherwise. Here's Gamero. Sergio Ramos, the tough guy, so much nous, so much experience at the back. He's not a player you want to be arguing with. Dani Carvajal doing a lot of good work down that right-hand side. Because it was Sergio Ramos who used to play at right back, didn't he, in the World Cup winning team in 2010. Piqué alongside at centre defence with Puyol, And remember Capdevila at left back.
I think that's the most impressive thing about Sergio Ramos, though, Ian. Because anytime you do games and you prep and you see a number like 141 caps, today getting his 142nd, and you think, okay, well, he's going to be very smart. He's going to look not as athletic. He's been all over the field.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't slowed down.
Griezmann, nice looking ball, that one. Kevin Gamero, Mbappe waiting in the middle. Something for France near the break here. Oh, wasn't that convincing, the work by David De Gea as the ball dropped over his head.
Well, De Gea has had very little to do tonight, but you love the run from Griezmann, and it's in between the lines of the midfield and back line of Spain. That is the only time today that France has caused a headache, and both of those times have been into the feet of one of the front runners, and then you get going the other way.
Desarwa doing well. Picked up by Rabiot. Now Jallet. Good-looking ball. Was there just a little nudge on Tolisso? No, nobody's complaining about that. Could have been a bit of an optical illusion. No goals here so far. You can see all 6 the USA scored against Honduras during our half-time break. Stay with us. Look back at that dominating performance and a look ahead to tonight's important World Cup qualifying match in Panama. So the USA team very much our focus during half-time. Easy on the eye, this game. No goals so far. France 0, Spain 0.
I think it's safe to say, though, pretty much what we expected. Spain dictating the tempo, having a majority of the possession, and then hopefully seeing a counter going the other way. Other than the final product, it may be a friendly, but both teams have come out with an urgency of trying to learn something about their players and something about their tactical plan for the future World Cup qualifiers.
One of Spain's recent friendly matches was at Wembley. I saw it against England. They were 2-0 down with a minute to go, Spain, and still rescued it. 2-2. Isco got the equaliser right the 96th minute. Here he is right on cue. Thought about the shot, didn't he? And there he goes.
Numbers in front of Hugo Lloris. Isco coming inside makes it a little bit easier for Lloris to pick that out, but it's just been so many numbers going forward for Spain. It's been a real difficult first half, I think, for France, trying to build out from the back. And that's the thing, Ian. You talk about Spain and everyone says possession. It's also their immediate pressure when the ball turns over.
I think they'd be worried about the amount of possession and how little they really managed to create with that. The nearest thing was Koscielny's header, hooked off the line by acrobatically by Gerard Piqué. So all that USA talk and goals coming up at half-time here in Paris.